Hello and welcome students. We are into the 15th video lecture of the lecture series made on the subject machine design, subject code ME303, and the topic which we are going to discuss today is the types of gears. This is the new topic which I am starting from this lecture number 15th. We are going to basically discuss on the design of gears, and in the design of gear topic, the first topic that is coming is to introduce the water gears, what are the functions of gears, and then after what are the different types of gears. So basically we are starting with the introductory topic of the design of gears, and we are going to discuss about the different types of gears today. I am Shri Krishna Mishra, Assistant Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. So first of all, before going into the discussion of this topic, let's explore some lecture objectives of today's lecture. The objectives of today's lecture are: first, we are going to understand the importance of gear drive. We are going to understand the importance of gear drive. Then after, the second objective is to know about the friction circle. I'm going to teach you about the friction circle. What is friction circle? Because the concept of gear can be imagined only after studying the knowledge of friction circle. Then the third objective is to classify different types of gears. We are going to classify different types of gears, taking different bases. We are going to classify different types of gears. And the fourth objective is to understand the importance of each type of gear. Then individually we will go into each type of gear and we will understand the importance and the function and the use of different types of gears. Alright, so these were the lecture objectives of today's lecture. So let's now move into the discussion now. The table of contents which we are going to discuss, these are the table of contents. First is the introduction part, where we will discuss about the use of gears, function of gears. Alright, then comes the what is friction wheel or the friction circle, that we will discuss. Then the advantages and disadvantages of gear drive, we are going to discuss it. Then we will classify different types of gears. Lastly, the terms which are used in gears, that we are going to discuss. So let's move into the introduction part. Gears. Generally, students, what we have seen that the slipping of the belt or rope is a very common phenomena in the transmission of motion as well as power between the two shafts. Generally, basically, one thing that I want to tell you is that the gear drive is also a drive that is used for transmission of motion and power. Now, the other drives which are used in the transmission of motion and power, there is some issue with them. The other types of drives which transfer motion and power, there is an issue with them that there is always some slipping involved. There is always some slipping of belt or rope is involved. Like in the case of belt drive. What do you see in the case of belt drive? In belt drive, generally you have a belt which is fixed between the two driving as well as the driven portion. So in this way, see here, in this way you have a belt which is fixed in between these two. Now what happens, students? What happens? This belt drive, when from this driving wheel to the driven wheel, when the belt gets power from the driving wheel, it moves and transmits power to the driven wheel. Now what is the issue? That generally if the friction is not much, if the friction between the belt and this wheel, if that is not much, then perfect gripping is not made. And when gripping is not made nicely, then in that case there is slipping of belt between that portion of the wheel. There is slipping of belt. There is always slipping of belt involved. And when there is slipping of the belt, therefore the velocity ratio, that is the ratio between the driving gear and the driven gear, that is reduced. Student. The velocity ratio in the case of belt drive, that is reduced due to slipping of the belt, due to this particular problem. due to this problem of the slipping of the belt. So in precision machines in which a definite velocity ratio is of importance, many a times we need a machine, many a times we need a transmission system which can provide us a definite velocity ratio, There are many machines which require a definite velocity ratio to be maintained. All right, and in that cases the only positive drive is the gear drive or the toothed wheels. We can say the toothed wheels. Generally, what are gears? In gears you will see there are teeth in this outer periphery. In this way there are teeth in this outer periphery. So for gear drive we also use the word toothed wheels. For this gear we also use the word toothed wheels. All right, so for positive velocity ratio you will always need a gear drive or the toothed wheel drive. All right, and it is very important, it provides the definite velocity ratio. These are the gears. As you can see, there are teeth in it, in the outer periphery of the wheel. Also, one of the other important aspect of gear drive is that it is of very much importance when the distance between the driver and the follower is very small. Whenever the distance between the driver means which is getting the power, which is getting the motion, all right, which is getting the power, driving gear and the driven gear, or the follower. Which drives is known as the driver and which is follows the driver, that is known as the follower. So in the case of gear drive, it is very beneficial. Why? Because it can be used when the distance between the driver and the follower is small. Then also it can be easily used. Now we have to understand the concept of friction wheel now in order to go into the gear drive. See, the motion and power transmitted by gear is kinematically equivalent to that transmitted by friction wheels or disc. We can imagine the power transmitted by gear to be kinematically equal to the that transmitted by friction wheels and disc. Means you can imagine that two wheels are pressed against each other like this. You can see here you have two wheels which are pressed against each other. This is one of the wheel and the second is this wheel. So these two wheels you can see are pressed against each other. All right, so in this way, for understanding the motion of the gear drive, you can imagine two wheels which are pressed against each other, and these wheels are known as friction wheels. In order to understand, students, once again, in order to understand the motion between two toothed wheels, in order to understand the motion of the gear drive, we have to consider two plane wheels A and B which are mounted on the shaft. We are considering two wheels which are mounted on the shaft. These are the shafts A and B on which the two wheels are mounted. All right, and the wheels have sufficient rough surfaces and press against each other, and we are imagining that the wheels are having sufficient rough surface between them and they are pressing against each other. As you can see, these two wheels, as you can see here, students, these two wheels, this wheel and this wheel, these two wheels are pressing here in this portion. These two wheels are pressing against each other, and we are imagining that there is sufficient roughness so that there is friction between them, so that when one is rotated, when the driver is rotated, the follower follows the motion, all right, in the opposite direction. So in this way, students, this is your friction circle. As you can see in the diagram, this is your friction circle, and when the motion is in this direction, when the driver rotates in this clockwise direction, then the friction will always be in the opposite direction. All right, and friction we all know is given by mu into reaction Rn, where reaction is what? Reaction is when they are both are pressing against each other, there will be reaction force involved whose direction is always outside the body which is considered. So for A it is on the outside direction, and for B, if you are considering B as an independent body, then in its free body diagram we will draw the reaction towards its outer side. All right, and the force that is acting is in this direction. Why? Because the driver is rotating in this way. So when the driver rotates in this clockwise direction, then your follower will rotate in the anti-clockwise direction. All right, so these two wheels are known as friction circle or friction wheel. These two are known as friction wheels, sorry. Now let the wheel A is keyed to the rotating shaft and the wheel B to the shaft to be rotated. Now in this, what is that? Wheel A is keyed to the rotating shaft, which is rotating, means wheel A is keyed here, and wheel B is fixed to the shaft to be rotated. A little consideration will show that when the wheel A is rotated by a rotating shaft, it will rotate the wheel B in the opposite direction. The same thing which I was telling to you. See the nature, see the sense of rotation. It is rotating in clockwise and it will rotate B in the anti-clockwise direction. So just opposite direction. Means when wheel A is rotating in any direction, then wheel B will rotate in the opposite direction to the wheel A. The wheel B will be rotated by wheel A so long as the tangential force exerted by the wheel A does not exceed the maximum frictional resistance between the two wheels. Now see, the wheel B will rotate with wheel A till what time? Till the force is not exceeding, till the force which is acting, it is not exceeding the frictional resistance which is there between the two wheels. If the force which you are applying, which the driving gear is applying or the driving wheel is applying, if this force exceeds the frictional resistance which is acting in the opposite direction, then what will happen? Then in that case there will be slipping, there will be slipping of the belt, there will be slipping of the belt. Slipping between the, no, here there is no belt, so there will be slipping of one wheel over the other. But when the tangential force P exceeds the frictional resistance, slipping will take place between the two wheels. Alright, so this was all friction wheel. Now one more thing, in order to avoid the slipping, now in order to solve this problem of slipping between the two wheels, what we are doing to avoid the slipping, students, what we are doing, we are making a number of projections which are also known as teeth, which are also known as teeths. We make a number of projections to avoid the slipping, students. We are making a number of projections which are known as teeths, and they are provided on the periphery of the wheel A. They are provided in the periphery of wheel A, which will fit into the corresponding recess on the periphery of the wheel B. So generally we make teeths on the two wheels, and the teeth of one of the wheel, it fits into the periphery, it fits into the recess on the periphery of the wheel B. Recess means the empty portion between the teeth, means this will be known as your recess. This will be known as your recess portion. If this is if fingers are considered as teeth, then this portion, the vacant portion between the teeth, that is known as the recess. So here, if this is one of the driving gear and this is the driven gear, so the teeth of one fix into the teeth of the other. All right, and in this way, when one rotates, it moves the other. When the driver rotates, it moves the follower. In the diagram also you can see, students, here in this diagram you can see there are teeths made on the periphery of both the wheels, and the teeth of one is fit into the recess of the teeth of the other gear. All right, and in this way there is no slipping. In this way there is very little or no chance of slipping. All right, a friction wheel with this type of friction wheel which has a teeth cut on its periphery, they are known as the gear or toothed wheels. These type of friction wheels which have teeth cut on the outer periphery, they are known as the gear or toothed wheels. All right, so you can see here, this was the concept of friction wheels. All right, and this is the concept of toothed gear. Why it has been introduced? In order to avoid slipping. Now moving further, what are the advantages of the gear drive? So see, first advantage is there is no slipping. As I have already told to you, the first advantage is there is no slipping, the major advantage. Second, during the introduction phase itself, I have told you that the second most important advantage is that it can be used when the center distance between the shaft of the driver and the follower is less. It can be used when the center distance between the driver and the follower is less. Then also it can be used. Then the third advantage is that it can provide exact velocity ratio. When there is no slipping, it itself means that you will get exact velocity ratio. Then since there are teeth involved, all right, and it is a heavy drive and there is no slipping involved in it, therefore you can transmit large power. Power from the gear drive. Then the next advantage, since there is exact velocity ratio, therefore the efficiency will also be high. Therefore the efficiency, if the failure chances are less, slipping chances are less, losses are less, means that there is high efficiency. Then after this, it has a very reliable service. Reliability is also high because the efficiency is high and there is no slipping. And finally, it provides a compact layout. It provides a very compact layout because the center distance between the shaft is less. Now, what are the disadvantages of the gear drive? Let's see. There are few disadvantages also of the gear drive. First is, for making the gear drive, you need special tools. For the manufacture of gear drives, you need some special tools and equipments, and therefore this makes the whole of the gear drive as a costlier one as compared to the belt drive or the other type of drive. And the second thing is that if there is, during the machining process, during the manufacturing process of the gears or the tools of the gears, if there is error in cutting of the teeth, this may cause vibrations. This may cause vibration and noise during its operation. So the designing should be perfect, the manufacturing should be perfect. If there is any error in the cutting teeth, then it will cause noise and vibration during operations. Then the third one is, it requires a suitable lubricant and reliable method of applying it. Now since the teeth of the two gears are in direct contact with each other, therefore the lubrication is also very important. So it requires suitable lubricant, and also reliable method should be there for applying it. All right, so these were all the disadvantages related to the gear drive. Now we are coming into the different types of gears. So let's classify different types of gears. These are the different types of gears. What are the gears different? What are the names of different types of gears? These are the different types of gears, students. First is your spur gear. You can see here the gears. As I will explain each of the gear one by one. Spur gears are those gears in which the direction of the teeth is parallel to the axis of the shaft in which it is fixed. All right. Then comes the helical gears. In the helical gears, the direction of the teeth are inclined from the axis of the shaft. Then comes the herringbone gears. The solution to the problem of helical gears is with herringbone gears. In herringbone gears, you can see that the direction of the teeth on the gear, it is in both the directions. All right, it is the teeth are not only inclined in one direction, they are inclined on both the directions from the axis of the shaft. Then comes the bevel gears. Bevel gears are the solution in those cases where the shaft between which the power has to be transmitted, they are intersecting with each other. So that you can see in this case. This is a case of bevel gears in which the shaft you can see they are intersecting with each other. And in that too, if the shaft are at an angle of 90 degree, that is a special case of bevel gear, which is known as meter gears. Then comes your worm gear. Now what are worm gears? Worm gears are those gears which provide neither non-parallel nor intersecting shaft, which provides the power to be transmitted between non-parallel and non-intersecting shaft. But here one thing is that the velocity ratio that is obtained is very large. All right, the velocity ratio that is obtained is very large. Then after comes the rack and pinion gear. In rack and pinion gear, you can convert a rotary motion, you can convert a rotary motion, you can convert a rotary motion into translatory motion, you can convert a rotary motion into translatory motion. Then comes the internal and external gears. Now in the case of internal and external gearing, what happens when you have internal teeth, made on the gear, when you have internal teeth made on the gear, on the internal part, all right. So such type of gears are known as internal gears. And when you have teeth on the external periphery, like this, whichever you are seeing, they all have teeth on the external periphery, so they are known as the external gears. Then comes the phase gear. Students. What is phase gear? Phase gears, these are the phase gears. I will elaborate this when I will discuss each and every gear. Then is your sprockets. This is the case of sprockets which you see in your cycles also. So these are the classification of different types of gears. We will elaborate each and every one by one. First of all, let's move into the spur gear. So as I have already told you that the classification is always that the classification of the gears or everything, whenever we classify, we take some base. There should be some base for classification. So if we take the base of the classification as the position of the two axes of the two shafts, so on that basis, according to the position of the axis of the shaft, they can be classified into parallel, intersecting, and non-parallel and non-intersecting. They can be classified into three cases. If you classify a gear, students, on the basis of the position of the axis of the shaft. So on that basis, the gears are classified in this way, as you can see here. First is your parallel shafts, second is your intersecting shaft, and the third is your non-parallel non-intersecting shafts. The two parallel and coplanar shafts connected by the gears, are in the case of parallel gears. All right. So these gears in which the shafts are parallel, the axes of the shafts are parallel to each other, the name given to them are spur gears. And the arrangement is known as spur gearing. These gears have teeth parallel to the axis of the shaft. As you can see in the diagram also, this is the diagram of the spur gear. As you can see that the power is to be transferred between the two parallel shafts. The axis of this shaft and the axis of this shaft, you can see they are both parallel to each other. And the second thing which you are seeing is that these teeth which you are seeing, I am highlighting with blue color. These teeth, they are all, the direction of these teeth are all parallel to the axis of the shaft. So two things: parallel shafts means the shafts whose axes are parallel to each other, and in the case of parallel shafts, one of the classic example is spur gears. They are very widely used. In these spur gears, you have the axis of the shaft, you have the axis of the teeth or the direction of the teeth parallel to the axis of the shaft. All right, here the teeth are parallel to the axis of the wheel, you can see. Now let me revise once again. Spur gear, these are used for parallel and coplanar shaft connected by gears, and they have straight teeth. All right, they are used for parallel and coplanar shaft. Second, they have straight teeth and the teeth are parallel to the axis of the shaft. What are the advantages of such type of spur gears? The advantage is that they have simplicity in design and they are economical to manufacture, and also the maintenance is also easy, and there is absence of end thrust. All right, the spur gears are also known as slow speed gears. Why? Why we say that the spur gears are slow speed gears? Because they are generally preferred. They are generally preferred in the case of slow speed. They are generally preferred in the case when the power is to be transmitted at slow speed. All right. And spur gears are mostly most common type of gear. Generally, the most commonly used type of gear is your spur gear. Now, the another name given to spur gear is the helical gear. The another name given to spur gear is the helical gear. It is a special case of spur gear. We can't say that it is a spur gear, but when the teeth which you have seen in the case of spur gears, what was the case in the case of spur gears? If this is the this is the axis of the shaft, students, then in the case of spur gears, the teeth, the direction of the teeth were parallel to the axis of the shaft. It was in this way. Now, students, it was in this way. Now, when in place of these teeth whose direction is parallel to the axis of the shaft, if instead of this, what you do, you incline the direction of the teeth with the axis of the shaft. If you incline the direction of the teeth with the axis of the shaft, if this is the axis of the shaft, you can see the direction of the teeth. The direction of the teeth are all inclined, all inclined. They are all inclined with the axis of the shaft. So such cases are known as helical gears. Such cases are known as helical gears. What was the reason to introduce this helical gears? Why these direction of the teeth have been kept inclined with the axis of the shaft? The reason behind this is that there was a problem in spur gears, that there was always some noise involved. Noise and vibration was involved in the case of spur gears. So in order to have smooth engagement and disengagement of the teeth of the shaft, in order to have smooth engagement and disengagement of the teeth of the shaft, they were provided their direction was kept inclined to the axis of the shaft. So such type of gears in which the teeth are inclined to the axis, they are known as helical gears. Now, if you make the teeth to be inclined in both the directions, see here, the teeth are inclined in both the direction. Here in this way, teeth are inclined in both the direction. So such type of gears in which the teeth are aligned in both the directions, they are known as herringbone gears. Now, what was the need to introduce this herringbone gears? Basically, the problem with helical gears was that in the case of helical gears, there was some end thrust. What is end thrust? Whenever it was rotated, there was some thrust which was acting on the shaft. There was always some thrust which was acting on the shaft. There was always some thrust which used to create push, which used to push the shaft along the axis. So this was a problem. So in order to eliminate this problem, the teeth of the gear were inclined in both the directions, and therefore it was named as herringbone or double helical gears. It was known as double helical gears. Why it was used? It was used to balance out the end thrust that was introduced in single helical gears when the load was transmitted. All right. So helical gear, I hope you have understood. Here the teeth are inclined with the axis of the shaft. All right. And there was a problem in this. What was the problem? The problem was that there was always some end thrust which was involved. All right. In order to eliminate this end thrust, the teeth were inclined in both the directions, and the name given to such type of gears was herringbone gears. So basically, herringbone gears are the double helical gears. All right. Now, see, you can see here, you can easily, this is the image, real image. In this real image, you can see the teeth are all inclined with the axis of the shaft. All right, here the teeth are all inclined with the axis of the shaft, and they are in the form of a helix. Now the plus point with this helical gears is that they can provide higher loads. They can transfer higher loads, and the plus point is that the motion is very smooth and quieter. The angle of helix on both the gear must be same in magnitude but opposite in direction. Now one more thing, if you want to make a helical gear, so in that case the angle of the helix on both the gears must be same in magnitude but opposite in direction. You can see in the image also this is visible, and a right hand pinion matches with the left hand gears. These gears are usually considered as high speed gears. Now since there is no noise and there is a smooth operation, therefore such type of gears are preferred and they are generally used for high speed. Coming into the herringbone gears, as I have already told you, the herringbone gears are the double helical gears. Double helical gears, why? Because it resembles helical gears that have been placed side by side. So herringbone gears are the double helical gears. All right, and the advantage is that it cannot be cut by simple gears. This is a disadvantage. In fact, the disadvantage is that it is not possible to machine it easily. You can't cut the complicated shape of the teeth as in the case of double helical gears or the herringbone gears. All right, it resembles two helical gears that have been placed side by side. If you look into the diagram or the image of this particular double helical gear, you can see it can be considered as a combination of two helical gears which are kept side by side. The plus point with this is that these two helical gears which we are considering, which are kept side by side, they are joined together correctly of opposite helix and they don't have any clearance between them. All right, whereas in the case of double helical gear, there is a groove between the two helical gears given for tool run out for manufacturing. So this was all your herringbone gears. The plus point was that it used to eradicate the problem of end thrust which was acting in the case of helical gears. Now coming into the herringbone gears. Herringbone gears, we have now coming into the next type of gears. The next type of gear are the bevel gears. Generally in the classification, as I have told you, the second classification of the shaft was when the gears were used to transfer power between the non-parallel shaft, means the intersecting shaft. In the case of intersecting shaft, students, in the case of such type of non-parallel or intersecting shafts, the most important gear that comes into the mind is the bevel gear. See here, this is the image of a bevel gear. As you can see the axis, student, one of the axis of the shaft is this and the other axis of the shaft is this. Now you can see these shafts are not parallel to each other, and in such cases we make the use of bevel gears. So we can say that the bevel gears are used for non-parallel intersecting but coplanar shaft. These two shafts are on the same plane. All right, I will explain you what is the meaning of the coplanar word here, because right now you are not able to understand, but when I will tell you the example of a spiral gear, then you will understand what is this coplanar shaft. All right, the bevel gears like spur gear may also have their teeth inclined to the face of the bevel. Now here in the case of bevel gears also you can have teeth inclined to the face of the bevel, and in that case we give it the name helical bevel gears. All right, now one thing that is important is here is that if the angle between the two shafts in the bevel gear, if that angle is 90 degree, we give it a name. Give it a name as a MITRE, meters gear. It is known as meters gear. When equal bevel gears connect two shafts whose axes are mutually perpendicular to each other. As you can see, the shafts here between which the motion has to be transferred, that shaft are both mutually perpendicular to each other. Therefore, these are known as meter gears. They have a special name, that is meter gears. All right. Moving further, this is the actual image which you are seeing of the meter gear. This is, since the angle between the shaft is 90 degree, therefore it is meter gear. And intersecting, but these are basically intersecting but coplanar shaft. All right, connected by gear. Now moving into the next one, worm gear. Now what are worm gears, students? Worm gears are basically used to transfer the motion between two non-intersecting non-parallel shafts. As you can see, they are also not on the same plane. Even the two shafts between which the power has to be transferred, if this is the shaft 1 and this is the shaft 2, you can see that they are not on the same plane. They are not on the same plane. So since the plane are not same, so they will not be considered as coplanar. They are non-coplanar shafts. So in the case of non-coplanar non-intersecting shaft, we make the use of worm gear. So basically we can say that worm gears are used to transmit power at 90° and where high reductions are required. So one plus point is that whenever the shaft are at 90° and they are non-coplanar, then we will use worm gear. And the other plus point is that you can produce high velocity reduction. You can provide high reduction in velocity. All right. So in worm gears, one gear has screw threads. As you can see here in this, you have one screw thread, one gear with screw threads. Here one gear you have screw threads. All right, in this particular one, due to this the worm gears are quite vibration free and smooth in operation. One of the major advantages is that they are very quiet, they are vibration free, and they are also smooth in operation, and they are always at right angles. So I hope worm gear is also understood to you. Three advantages of worm gear are what? First, it can transfer power between non-coplanar shaft which are at 90° to each other. Second plus point is that since the teeth of one of the gear are of screw threads design, therefore the operation is very smooth, vibration free, all right, and very quiet. So this was worm gear. Coming into the next type of gear, and the next type of gear is your rack and pinion gear, students. Rack and pinion gear. So what are rack and pinion gears? In rack and pinion gears, you have an advantage in rack and pinion gear that it can be used to transfer, it can be used to change the nature of the motion of the shaft. All right, means it can be used to convert a rotary motion into translatory motion. How? Let's see here, students. You can see here that this particular diagram is showing you the rack and pinion design. One which is getting the translatory motion is known as rack, and one which is rotated is known as the pinion. All right, so the gears here of the shaft meshes externally and internally with the gears in a straight line. Such type of gears are known as rack and pinion gears. The straight line gear is called a rack. This particular, as I have told you, the straight one among these two is known as the straight line gear, rack, and the circular one is known as the pinion, and the circular one is known as the pinion gear. And a little consideration will show that with the help of rack and pinion we can convert the linear motion into rotary motion and vice versa. Means if you want to convert a rotary motion into linear motion, all right, so you can use a rack and pinion type of gear, and vice versa is also true. If you want to convert a translatory motion into rotary motion, so that is also possible with the help of rack and pinion gear. So I hope you have understood what is rack and pinion gear. One more diagram is there. With that you can get more understanding of rack and pinion gear. You can see here, students, these are the real images of the rack and pinion type of drive. You can see one of the gear is having a translatory motion and the second one is having a rotary motion. So the nature of the motion is changing. All right, a rack is a toothed bar or rod that can be thought of as a sector gear with an infinite large radius of curvature. All right, and torque can be converted to linear force by meshing a rack with a pinion. Now where it is mostly used, you will find this particular motion mostly in automobiles, where you need to convert the rotation of a steering wheel rotation of the steering wheel into the left to right motion of the tie rod. In the case of a steering mechanism, you would have seen, you please try to see an automobile, old automobile, you will see that the steering mechanism has a rack and pinion type of gear, which is used to convert the rotary of the steering wheel into the left and right motion of the tie rod, which is used to connect the two front wheels. All right, so this was rack and pinion gear. Then after, when the case student is of those type of gears which are used for neither parallel, means non-parallel, when the shafts are non-parallel students, as well as non-intersecting, as well as neither parallel and non-intersecting students. So in that cases we use the skew bevel gears, or the other name is the spiral gears. In such cases we use skew bevel gears or the spiral gears. All right, so basically skew bevel gear or spiral gears are those which are used for neither parallel nor intersecting, and also coplanar shafts. So a hyperboloid is the solid formed by revolving a straight line about an axis such that every point on the line remains at a constant distance from the axis. So this is the diagram which is showing you this. Alright, the worm gear is basically a form of spiral gearing in which the shafts are usually at right angles. The worm gear here, which I have explained you earlier, it can be considered as an example of spiral gear. Now based on the type of gearing, the shaft can be classified as, based on the type of gearing, the shaft can be classified as external gearing, internal gearing, and rack and pinion gearing. So what is external gearing? The gears of the two shafts in the case of external gearing mass externally with each other, like the case which we were discussing till now. The teeth of the two shafts are massing externally with each other, and in this case the larger of the two wheel is known as a spur gear. Spur gear is what? It is the larger of the two wheels. All right, this larger one. And what is the pinion? The smaller wheel is known as the pinion. All right, and the motion of the two wheels is always unlike, means when you rotate one in the clockwise direction, the other will be rotated in the anti-clockwise. The larger is known as the spur gear, smaller is known as pinion. Then in the case, the second classification is the internal gearing. Now in the case of internal gearing students, you can see in the diagram also, here the gears of one shaft mass internally with each other. All right, and the larger one is known as, here the larger one is known as annular wheel, and the smaller one is known as the pinion. The smaller one is known as the pinion. So you can see here the teeth of one of the shaft, here the teeth of one of the gear is massing internally with the teeth of the other gear, You can see in this way. All right, there is internal meshing. You can see here students. There is internal meshing between the two, and that is known as internal gearing. All right, so this is, you can see the real image. This is the internal gears where the teeth are meshed internally. What is the plus point in this? The rotation of sense is same, means if the driving gear is rotating clockwise, then the driven gear will also be rotating in the same sense. All right, external gears are these where the sense of rotation is changed and the teeth are meshed externally. Now one more classification is there if that is based on the peripheral velocity of the gear. When the velocity that is used is less than 3 meter per second students, when the velocity that is used for transfer of motion, that velocity is less than 3 meter per second. All right, then it is known as low velocity gear, and when the velocity of the gear is between 3 and 15 meter per second, then it is known as medium velocity gear, and when the velocity of the gear is more than 15 meter per second, then it is known as high speed gear. So all the three, I hope you have understood: low velocity gear, high velocity gear, and medium velocity gears. All right, So these was all the types of gears. I have explained, elaborated each and every gear with you. Now we will solve some multiple choice questions. First, a multiple choice question. The gears used for parallel shaft arrangement are, now which is used for parallel shaft arrangement? We all know that spur gears and helical gears, they are used for transmitting power between parallel shafts. Coming into the next one, dash are the gears used for intersecting shaft arrangement. Now for the cases of shafts which are intersecting with each other, so for that the gears which are used are bevel gears. The gears for intersecting shaft are known as bevel gears. All right, so option A is the correct option. Coming into the MCQ number 3, dash are gears used for skew arrangement. Now for skew means non-coplanar arrangement. For skew arrangement, generally the gears which are used are helical, worm or hypoid gears. They are known as helical, worm and hypoid gears. So the correct option is B option. All right. Coming into the MCQ number 4. MCQ number 4 is saying to you that bevel gears are used for connecting intersecting shafts at 90 degree and having a speed ratio 1:1 is known as, now those gears where the angle between the shaft is 90 degree and speed ratio 1:1, so such type of gears are known as I have already told you, it is a special case of bevel gears. It is meter gears where the angle between the two shafts intersecting are 90 degree. Coming into MCQ number 5. Dash gears are used for obtaining large speed reduction between non-intersecting shafts making an angle of 90 degree with each other. So in the case of non-intersecting shafts which are making an angle of 90 degree with each other, the gear which is used is your worm gear. The gear which is used is your worm gear. So option A is the correct option. Now coming into the last one, sixth one, bevel connecting shafts other than 90 degree are, so at 90 degree bevel gears, shafts at 90 degree have the name meter gears, but the others are known as angular bevel gears. So option B is the correct option. Coming into MCQ number 7. What the question is saying to you, bevels connecting non-intersecting shafts are known as, we all know it is known as skew bevel gears. All right, and which of the following can be used? Coming into the MCQ number 8, which of the following can be used for power transmission in intersecting shafts? So for intersecting shaft, power transmitted is done with the help of bevel gears. Question number 9, is it possible to transmit power between shafts lying in different planes using gears? Yes, is it possible? It is possible with the help of worm or cross helical gears. So option A is the correct option. It is possible with the help of crossed or worm helical gears. All right, with the help of worm gears or crossed helical gears, the power can be transmitted between shaft in different planes using gears. Coming into the last MCQ, students, herringbone gears can be used in, now we all know that herringbone gears are double helical gears and they can be used for parallel shaft. They are used for parallel shaft. So option B is the correct options. I hope you have understood each and every concept told in today's lecture. In the coming lecture, in the next lecture, we will discuss more on the terms which are used in the gears. So for reference, you can use any of the book given in this slide, and the most of the content used by me is from the book Design of Machine Elements by V.B. Bhandari. It is of Tata McGraw-Hill publication. So for today it's enough. Thank you and have a nice day.